If you do something for a long or repeated period of time, you'll begin to see patterns. Similarly, when you spend time watching a lot of movies and series, you'll begin noticing patterns in them. So I, on a sleepless night, decided to make a video about some of the patterns, aka similarities, aka stereotypes in movies and series from Hollywood. So welcome to Hollywood Stereotypes. So the first category we're going to see is geography. Hollywood movies sometimes require the characters to travel to different countries. It's either for the plot or just because the cast and crew want to visit a new country. But what they do is that they will try very hard to convince the audience that they're actually in the country. Like even though they add big fonts on the screen to let us know where the story is currently taking place, they still feel a sense of insecurity and feel the need to imply better. And they have a few traditional methods to do this. First method is color grading. Have you ever noticed whenever a character goes to Mexico or any Spanish speaking place, everything will become yellow? Like the editors just turn down every other color and turn up the yellow values. You can look up any movie scene when they are in Mexico or Spain, everything will be yellow. Every other scene in America will be normal, but once they go to Mexico, todo se vuelve amarillo. And the other method they use is just stereotyping. I mean, not racist stereotyping, depending on the context, where they use elements of the country which they think symbolizes the country. For example, when they go to a Middle Eastern country, you'll see pyramids, camels, Arabic women, and randomly start hearing this. Then when they go over to Africa, you'll only see the savannas and random shots of lions, hyenas, elephants, and tribal people. Obviously, there are normal buildings, people, and modern civilization just like anywhere else in these countries, but it's just how they are portrayed in movies. Also, since we are talking about geography, almost every alien will first visit America when coming to Earth, at least in 80 to 90% of the movies. The remaining percentage of aliens will land elsewhere, but they'll still be brought to America. Also, the aliens speak perfect English, and that too in the most American accent. So these two are the copyrighted methods of Hollywood that are used to imply geography. There has always been a constant number of attempts to understand and portray teenagers in Hollywood movies. These attempts were somewhat successful in the late 90s and the early 2000s, but as time moved on, there was a steady decline in the acceptance of these movies, especially when a certain someone started making them. But as a senior teenager, I feel the main reason for the loss of interest in these movies were due to the change in taste. If you think about it, the main plot of teenage movies used to be made using a common template. There'd be a troubled teenager, they would have one or no friends at all, they would not fit in with their peers, considered a freak, and will have feelings for the popular person who's the only nice one in the mean popular group. Then the teenager will go through a cosmetic and behavioral makeover and make friends with the popular group and get together with the popular person they like. But plot twist, they feel that they had lost their individuality in the process and also their friends who had been with them since the beginning. So then they decide to make some changes and become a hybrid of popular but still themselves personality and live happily ever after. Until College, a film by Lindsay Lohan. So in essence, the movies are mostly about teenagers figuring themselves out, which eventually leads to self-acceptance and also getting accepted from their peers too. Keyword is acceptance. Now coming back to why these plots don't work anymore is A, there are just too many movies with the same damn plot and the need for more of these is not needed. And B, Teenagers nowadays are more drawn towards their own set of likings and hobbies, which they enjoy learning more about instead of following the popular group. Matter of fact, the concept of popular and unpopular groups is not even relevant nowadays. They're only normies and gangsters. So when Hollywood decides to make a teenage drama, they use this template for the plot and the characterization. And when watching a full season or 2 hours of a character who's very poorly written, it's not relatable. It just hurts. Now, I'm not saying that all teenage dramas or teenagers in movies are poorly written. There have been some very interesting and relatable teenage characterizations in recent times, but majority of them are very cliche and irritating to watch. Just like the teenage template, there is a common template for horror movies. But there is an exception to this template. It doesn't include horror movies where the entity or the creature is the protagonist, like Mike Myers from Halloween series, Pennywise, Freddy Krueger, Sawface, and Roderick from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid reboot, and more characters like this. That's a different template for part 2. We're going to focus on a more common template called family versus ghost. In these movies, the plot is usually like this. A family moves into a house which already looks haunted from the outside but still move in happily and Sorry, just for fun. Just checking if you're paying attention. So they still move in and find random stuff left behind by the previous family that died in there because of the ghost or by the very first group of people or person who became the ghost. So for the first few days, they will be happy. Then one of the family member will begin hearing random footsteps, laughter or crying when no one else is in the house. And the very odd thing about the characters in these movies is that they will go towards the source of sound. Normal people will leave the house or go get a gun or get someone else before checking it. But these strange people will just kamikaze and go to... Okay, sorry again. Alright, no more of this anymore, I promise. So when they check it out, it's usually either they'll get jump scared or learn that there is something in the house. So at this stage, all the family members will experience some form of jump scare and will finally have the family meeting they're supposed to have before buying the house. In most cases, the family will go find an exorcist or a person who can chat with ghost people. But sometimes they Sherlock Holmes about the ghosts themselves and find the origin story and flashback clips of the ghost, and in the process find its weakness too, and decide to defeat the ghost as a family, and usually do succeed. Now, if the studio wants a sequel, they will have a climax where the ghost has not been deleted from the recycle bin and moves back to disturb the family. But if there's no sequel, the ghost just ghosts. So going back to if they follow the exorcist part, the research would have been done by the exorcist, and the exorcist will usually have some form of history with the ghost. Then the fight to de-ghost the house will take place, and the same sequel or no sequel option will be available, and the climax will be according to that. The only difference in the characteristics of the ghost would be their looks or the theme of their costume, but everything else would be the same. Their introduction to the family, their backstory, their weaknesses, and of course the jump scares. I mean, come on, you saw that coming. So those were the patterns or stereotypes I noticed in the geography, teenagers, and horror of Hollywood movies. Comment down similar stereotypes you noticed in Hollywood movies. Spam likes and comments for part 2. Not that I won't make a part 2 if you guys didn't ask. But it'd be a lot cooler if you did. Don't worry. I want you guys to leave watching the video happily, so here's a cool Rick roll.
Here we go, let's go. We're not strangers to love. You know the rules. I don't commit while thinking love. You